All right. Let's go. That four people already kicking this thing off. That's great to see. As we're getting here, would love to hear where everybody is joining us from. Uh, I will jump in. I am from Canada, currently living in Los Angeles, California. Switzerland, very cool. We'll probably have lots of Europeans in the house.
Yeah, probably.
Montana, beautiful. The UK, Chicago, Portugal, Denmark. This is amazing. We have a very global crowd today. Tampa, Atlanta, Italy, Belgium. This is probably the most diverse group I've seen in the recent webinars we've hosted. Boston, Illinois, Belgium. Cool. Also curious where, just like at a high level, what everyone's most interested in learning today, and essentially just how everyone uses the LinkedIn platform. Sweden, Austria, Germany, Newcastle. We have quite the crew. Biggest changes, yep, agreed. Just how the algorithm and the platform has shifted so dramatically in the last year. Learning more about company LinkedIn pages versus individual pages.
Yeah, Stephanie is on topic. How to deal with 360 Brew and Geo.
Nice, Stephanie. Um, yeah, what matters with the algorithm, how to get more exposure, beautiful. How LinkedIn ambassadors can create more reach, win
Should
authority,
have
get
bought our
clients.
video.
That's win authority and get clients. That's definitely on brand. How to create more organic reach. This is a great one. How to create content that matters in times of AI slop. That's top of mind all
Yep.
the time.
Yep.
I like Christopher's. It's really tactical. Like, should I bother with video? I think that's one I think through all the time too. Is just like the most tactical methods around like actual visual content and what works and what doesn't.
Well, some of these questions are not in the topic we are going to discuss today, but I would sure love to answer some of them at the end of the session.
Totally. And for everyone involved, we're going to kick this off in 2 minutes. We're just giving everyone the first 5 minutes to join. Richard's then going to kick this thing off and run through his 10 tips and ways to share with everybody on how the algorithm has shifted. And then we'll wrap that up in approximately 30 minutes. We'll see how everything flows, and then we'll open it up for Q&A so we can get into some of these other tactical
Cool.
questions, even if they're not perhaps fully covered in the presentation.
Yeah, that's cool.
Richard, you're the LinkedIn king.
I thought it said the Lion King, so I was actually quite happy, but it's a LinkedIn King. Yeah. Thanks, Lilach. It's nice. I know quite a few of our attendees. So either there are connections of yeah, that's cool. It's amazing.
Awesome. We'll just give it one more minute here, let a few more people join. Let's see. Jennifer says, my clients are job seekers. I'm also listening on their behalf, so how they can gain reach. Love it.
I used to be very happy when I saw attendees 89. Now it's almost like you need to split that in half because everybody comes with his own note taker. So it's like half the people, half the note takers. But it's still an amazing crew.
For what it's worth, when I scroll through the attendees, I don't think I'm seeing too many note taking.
No, no, no.
Couple.
I saw a few. I saw a few.
We just hit 90, Bruce, but we have more coming in. But for the sake of time, I'd say let's kick this thing off now that we're at the 5 minute mark. I think everyone here is probably familiar with you, Richard, and you're the LinkedIn king, as I think we all know. So I'm just going to pass it off and let you do your thing. So take it away.
That's cool. I'm sharing my slides. You can see it now, no? Cool. So yeah, welcome everyone. Thanks you for joining. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon in my time zone, which is Spain. I'm Dutch, but I live in Spain since 2017. I know it's 10. No, it's not. It's 10 a.m. no in the Eastern, and it's very early in the West Coast. Am I right?
It is 9 a.m. Pacific on the West Coast and it'd be noon
Ah, it's
East.
noon. Yeah, it's noon. It's -6. Okay, cool. So thank you for joining. Today I want to share with you 10 algorithm tips. I can share probably more and probably going to do that as well to triple your reach on LinkedIn. I think it's a very catchy title and it's probably the biggest lie you'll see today, how to triple your reach, because LinkedIn has become quite a difficult ball game to play. And a lot of people think because I'm so into LinkedIn's algorithm, we started to research it back in 2019. So everybody thinks, or a lot of people think, like all my posts go viral. Well, I'm just a regular LinkedIn user. So just today, for example, I published a post that absolutely tanked. It didn't got even 2,500 views, while my network is over 250,000 followers. So it's not that because of my knowledge, all my posts go viral, because there are a lot of elements as we speak that are involved in the LinkedIn algorithm. And some of them, obviously, we are going to share a bit more in depth in this session. If you want to connect with me, you can go to LinkedIn, type in my name, Richard van der Blom, or scan the QR code, which, by the way, you will get all the slides. You get a personal email from me with the slides, with a recording, and with some more information. If you are going to send me an invite to connect, please mention the Stanley webinar so I know where you came from and make it worthwhile, because I've hit 30,000 connections, which literally means I need to kick somebody out if you want to get in. So make it worthwhile for the both of us. Last slide about me. I've worked a lot in sales, actually since 2005, started my own company back in 2010. We have a LinkedIn training and consultancy agency, and we have been quite busy over the last 15 years. Over the last 3 years, I have reached over 100, I think it's 108 million views on LinkedIn, which is still quite a challenge nowadays. If you go 2 years back, it was much more easy to get substantial views on your post than it is nowadays. And I don't like rankings that much because I think they're always based on, assumptions and some elements that we can control. But if somebody puts me on number one, that's my favorite ranking. So here we go. Favicon ranked me last year number one social selling expert on LinkedIn. So here we go. I have two more questions for you that you can answer in the chat, and they are relevant for the session today. Did you use AI to draft, edit, or write your last LinkedIn post? So did you make use of artificial intelligence to brainstorm, draft, edit, or write your last LinkedIn post? So either it's yes, either it's no. It's a very easy question. And then my second question, what do you consider your biggest challenge regarding LinkedIn and content creation? What is the biggest challenge you have personally when it comes to creating content on LinkedIn? Is it inspiration? Is it time? Is it the algorithm? Is it consistency? Maybe something else. Let me know, what is your biggest challenge? And again, we will have time for some Q&A at the end. So if you have a question, put it in the chat and Dylan and I will have a look at it. Okay, here we go. So before I start with the tips, I want to explain a little bit more about 360 Brew. Some people refer to it as the new LinkedIn algorithm, which is completely not true. It's not a new LinkedIn algorithm. It's a new language learning system that is implemented in the LinkedIn algorithm. So it's an element of the LinkedIn algorithm. And when we talk about LinkedIn algorithm, in fact, there are actually more algorithms than just one. Because when LinkedIn is testing new features, when they are making changes to how they rank profiles, how they show content, for example, they always do that in badges. Okay, so if new things come to the platform, they always start to work with little test badges, which means all these badges have also different algorithms. But if I refer to the algorithm, it's the complete ecosystem of all these algorithms working together. Now, what is 360 Brew? You could think of it as a smart brain behind LinkedIn that connects who you are, what you have to say and share, and who should see it. So we come from what LinkedIn calls a network cluster. Now LinkedIn has built, or they are in the process of building, what they call interest clusters. The biggest change that you need to know about this when it comes to how LinkedIn shares your content is that before the implementation of 360 Brew, it was substantial percentage, around 70% would go to your connections, and the remaining percentage, let's say 30%, would go to your followers. So when you hit publish, 70% of your connections, 30% of followers, and that was the first batch. Let me rephrase that. It's not 70% of your connection, because that would mean we get massive reach. But in the first batch, which is approximately between 2 and 6% of your total network, they would share it with connections and with followers. Now with 360 Brew, they share it with 60% of people in your interest cluster. So this might be that you hit publish on your post and more people outside your first degree network will see it than connections, because LinkedIn is now sharing your content with who they believe is the most interested in those topics. And some other changes. Many creators, including myself, see lower reach, but a more target audience. This was literally the promise that LinkedIn made us. We will make sure you get more relevant audience, more relevant engagement, to have more in-depth discussions or conversations. And to be honest, I see that myself. My reach compared to 2 years ago is on 35%, which is massive. I mean, I normally had around 30,000 average views, also depending on the format. Now I'm around 10, 11,000, mind you, with 250,000 followers. But my engagement is more or less on the same level. So 3 times less reach, same engagement. So that means that LinkedIn shows my content to more people who really care and who engage. Hashtags do not matter anymore. They don't give you more reach. Keywords are the most important elements now. Keywords that you have on your profile, in your content, in your comments. I will explain more about that in a few seconds. Also, LinkedIn is going on a crusade against viral bait posts, which I think is perfect. Viral bait posts, let me give an example. Infographics that are shared in big cohorts and that are copy pasted by a lot of people in the past because they went viral. We probably all have seen the 10 toxic leadership styles. I mean, I saw that infographic over 20 times shared by people who didn't even were in the leadership business, but they just shared it because, it went viral. Another thing, comment X and I will send you Y is also what LinkedIn says it's a viral bait post. Okay, so the algorithm is going to suppress the reach of those posts, which I cheer for. Also, the algorithm now remembers your history. A strong, consistent track record helps new posts travel further. So be aware that you stay away from posts that tank in reach, because if you have consecutive posts that are underperforming, it will become more difficult to get better reach in the future, because LinkedIn is remembering that your posts are not performing very well. They are not as relevant for your audience. 1 month ago, I updated my profile. Actually, I almost entirely rewritten and restructured my profile for the first time in 3 years. And why? Because while I was reading the LinkedIn Engineer blog on the 360 Brew, it was very clear that your profile, your content, and your engagement are the key elements for LinkedIn to place you in their interest cluster. So that means that they need to be aligned on your main topic. So I rewrote my headline, I restructured and have rewritten my about section, and I've used the most important keywords in my profile. And those are the same topics that I'm also using in my content. So it's about LinkedIn thought leadership, it's about LinkedIn algorithm, it's about social selling, growing your business. Those are my main topics. And believe it or not, but after I rewrote my profile, I saw a direct uptick in reach. I got 25 to 35% more reach than before. And also I saw in my engagement that I got more new people belonging to my ideal client profile coming to my post than before I updated my profile. So if you haven't updated your profile for a while, this is the moment to do so, and make sure you emphasize your main topic. Some more practical tactics for if you want to be seen as an authority, a thought leader, if you want to be seen as an expert. Educate, don't just promote. So 360 Brew values content that have bite-sized, snackable information for the audience. If your content makes people act, you get simply more reach because the new algorithm thinks you're more relevant. If we look at consistency or frequency, it's also now, and for the people that follow me, they know that every year we publish an algorithm report, and this year it's scheduled for 29th of April. We already have 70% of the data, and we've now seen that people who post 3 to 4 times a week on average outperform people who post every day. The reason behind it is probably that people who post every day, they have given themselves the KPI to publish a daily post, which means sometimes they probably don't have the quality post, but they just want to publish something to stick with the KPI. We see that if you post less, but you have stronger pieces of content, more in-depth content, you perform better. The first 2-3 lines are very important also for 360 Brew. So make sure that in the first 2-3 lines, there are hooks and that it's clear what your post is about. Pick your lane, build a content lane. It's very difficult if you are a jack of all trades and you have different topics. Imagine that I want to write on email marketing. I want to write on sustainability. And I want to write on the LinkedIn algorithm research. 360 Brew can never create a very clear interest cluster. So my reach will be scattered among many different target audiences and will perform very badly. So instead of that, pick one lane, one main topic. You can have 2 or 3 subtopics. That's not a problem. So my main topic is how to use LinkedIn in B2B environment. And my subtopics are knowledge of the algorithm to get better posts, social selling, how to use LinkedIn for lead generation, and how to be an authority on LinkedIn because it helps to sell better. Just to give you an idea. So every post should answer one question: what useful ID am I adding to the conversation in my field today? What is the takeaway that I'm giving my audience with my post today? If you cannot answer that question, rewrite your post. And then an authenticity score. For those who know Favicon, they have a credibility score at the moment. Authenticity score. 360 Brew is trained to detect robotic, templated, or fully AI-generated writing patterns. Never, ever, ever, I don't care if you use Claude or ChatGPT or whatever tool you're using, never copy-paste AI output directly to LinkedIn because 360 Brew will detect it and will shadow ban your content. The more human you act in your comments, in your post, the less it can be copy pasted content, the higher your authenticity score. The higher your authenticity score, the more reach you will get. So 360 Brew favors posts that sound like a real person, surprise, surprise, but also that have specific examples that cannot be copied by anyone, personal views, that is your personal view, and a natural tone. If your friends say this sounds exactly like you, that's a very good sign that you can give to the new algorithm. 3 pillars of a successful and converting LinkedIn content strategy. It says 5. There are 3 actually in this slide deck. Sorry for that. So those 3 pillars I use in my content strategy, and they all have a different reason. That's very important to understand, that if you have different pillars, they don't all have the same reason. So first, professional storytelling. Why is it important to have storytelling posts? Because people, also on LinkedIn, they like to read. They like to read stories that resonate with them, that they feel that they, have more or less the same experience, or it helps them making decisions. It's still the best performing type of post if you look at all the type of posts in terms of engagement and reach. You build a human connection, and you emphasize your authenticity. And you see a post that I made with my Gardener. On the right, you see a post that I recently made about what's going on. It was like an open letter to LinkedIn. So it's your view on things. It's your experiences that you want to share. This pillar is a very important one. It's the educational content, expert content. Some people refer to it as thought leadership content. So this is you taking your expert position and creating content that is safe worthy. This is one of the reasons why infographics still perform very well. One of the reasons why infographics are performing still very well is that it's instant value. I don't need to watch a 6-minute video. I don't need to go through a carousel of 16 slides. I have one visual that provides me value. So your audience will probably click on save because they want to keep it, which is also a very good signal to the algorithm. And then the third pillar is proof of impact. This is how you activate your audience to act. So the first pillar is professional storytelling. Okay, you make yourself known, you create a human connection, you're being authentic. The second one is educational. You're taking your expert position, you're sharing educational content, how-to content to help your audience to overcome the challenges or to, get more information to make a decision. And then the third pillar is proof of impact, which means now I'm going to activate my audience to act. Act can be to engage. Act can be to send me a DM, to invite me to connect, but also to click to go to my website, to buy a low commitment offer, to sign up for my newsletter. That's what activation content does. And this is done if you have content that explains to your target audience, this is the problem one of my clients had, this is what we did, and this is the result. So it's proof of impact. If you follow me, if you work with me, if you collaborate with me, this is what you can expect. A very, very important pillar. 10 tips and insights of the LinkedIn algorithm. Here we go. It's an interesting discussion. Reach. Is it a vanity metric or is it a value metric? I used to say it's a vanity metric. I now think it's also a value metric because it's very easy. Without reach, there's no engagement, there's no follower growth. My post today that tanked has no impact because nobody's seen it. So I think reach is an important KPI. It's not a decisive one, but we all need reach. If you look now, we're in February 2026. If you look back to 1 year ago, we're on average on minus 47%. If you look back to 2 years ago, we're on like average minus 65%. It's not you, it's the changes in the algorithm. There are multiple reasons why we all have less reach, but accept it and from here start like all over. Just like reset. I've done the same. I'm not comparing anymore my reach to 2 years ago. I said, okay, this is now my new starting point, and from now on, I want to grow my reach again. The same goes for engagement and follower growth. So all metrics are down, but to be honest, the last 4 or 5 months, they have rather stabilized. So there's no further like loss in reach anymore. One of the most asked questions is about frequency and timing. And I see a lot of LinkedIn trainers saying it's all about consistency. Post consistent. Now, I'll be very honest. If you post consistent without delivering value, you're just disciplined spamming people. So posting more doesn't make you relevant. Okay. So every time you post, you need to be sure that you add value. If that's 3 times a week, cool. If that's 1 time a week, also cool. If that's every day, you've done a great job, but make sure it's relevant. Post for your goal and not the ideal time. We also have every year in our report, we have the ideal time, the ideal day, just like Hootsuite has, Buffer has, HubSpot have, all these social media platforms, all these tools, they come with their own research and say, Tuesday morning is the best. Wednesday evening is the worst. Yesterday, actually, I read a research from somebody who said, I've researched 60,000 posts. Sunday is the best day to publish a post on LinkedIn. That's BS, simply not true. Because what is your goal? To give you an example, if I have created the algorithm report or you have created an in-depth article, a white paper, never ever would I post it on a Sunday. Never ever. I would always post it at the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, because I know that type of content is going to be engaged with a lot and I need the entire work week for people to engage. If I have a personal story, so if something happened in my life that I want to share with my network, that ideally I publish on Saturday and Sunday. Why? Because people spend more time reading in the weekend. So when to post is more based on your goal than the ideal time. There are some rules. If you publish more than 24 hours, more posts within 24 hours, you will cannibalize your own reach. You might get more in total reach, but you get less average reach simply because you make LinkedIn choose whether they show your morning post or your afternoon post. Normally, the morning is the best time. If you have a global audience, it doesn't matter because in every time zone, you have a different audience, like the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, Asia. If you work locally, if you work, for example, in the German market, it's best to publish in the morning in your local time zone. So you have an entire day, working day, that people can act. On average, you see 90% of the LinkedIn activity in every time zone between 7 in the morning and 8 in the evening. 90% is there. Also, one of the things, I mean, I could do like a 1-hour workshop on AI and LinkedIn. Do I use AI for my content? Yes, of course. But there are obviously some rules. As I just told you, 360 Brew will detect if something is completely written by AI and punish you, like shadow ban your content. One of the things I'm using AI for is I'm drafting my post. I'm non-native English. That's my first challenge. Second, I'm not a copywriter. 99.9% of all the people on LinkedIn are not copywriters. So we need help in structuring our post to make it easy to scan, to make it easy for people, to see the added value. And in our last 2025 report, we saw that 5 structures are used by successful creators on LinkedIn and seem to get more reach. And those structures are here. The PESC, the Insight Ladder, Transfer, you can see them on the slide. So why I use, for example, I use Stanley to copy my draft into Stanley and then tell Stanley, very simple, Stanley, can you please rewrite this in my own tone of voice using the Insight Ladder or using the transformation timeline? And then Stanley rewrites my draft, makes it more easy to scan, like does the formatting, and that is the thing I'm putting on LinkedIn, do my last check, and I hit publish. What you need to remember from this slide is that you need to present your content in a way that it's easy to scan for your audience. They need to find the core message within 3 seconds. And structure help with in doing that. And that's where I use, for example, Stanley for. Then your hook is the most important part of your post. I don't like it myself, but it's the truth. I mean, LinkedIn shows 2 or 3 lines. Then they have the more button. If people don't click on more, your message get lost. They will simply scroll past it. There are a few ways that you can use. What I don't do, I never start with information. I never start my post with, you will now get a post with 8 tips on how the algorithm will. No, because it doesn't create like FOMO, or it doesn't make people stop scrolling. So instead, I have something contradictory, or I have something that people don't like, or I have a problem. Also, talk to one on the hooks, by the way. There's a very simple way also that you can do. Write your own hook. And then if you look at your own hook, there are, Jasmine Alice, for example, uses this methodology as well. You can write it positive, you can write it negative, or you can write it based on your personal experience. So if I want to share a post on the LinkedIn algorithm because it triples your reach, then a positive hook could be, follow these 5 tips to triple your reach on LinkedIn within 2 days. That's a positive hook. A negative hook, same post, could be, here is the reason why 96% on LinkedIn are not performing with their content. I have the same post, but my hook is now negative. Or personal, I implemented these tips last month and they resulted in 80% increase in reach. It's based on my own experience. You can do this with every post you have. You can make the hook positive, negative, on based on own experience. Talk to one person, not your entire market. So always talk to the you person and not if you are a B2B professional. Because what happens, all the people who are not, you immediately lose their interest. But if you say, if you post weekly, if you want to grow your business, you have a much bigger audience. It's very difficult to understand the power of a hook yourself because you don't get feedback from your audience. And again, on the right, you see a screenshot that I made from Stanley. I'm using Stanley now for almost a year, or maybe just a year. It's one of the most used tools in my content creation process. And one of the things I like is that every week I get an email with analysis of my post. And here you see that Stanley says the vulnerability hook plus the data combo crushed it, admitting you were wrong while showing 400,000 posts of proof. And then it helps me because it learns from my content. When I create my next post, my next draft, it helps me to use those type of hooks more if they see that my posts are performing better. And you see here that this post, for example, was 3.1 times my average performance. External links. There are a lot of myths when it comes to external links. LinkedIn will never confirm that using external links in your post will result in less reach. But it's true. All independent research, ours, Hootsuite, Narify, so many like independent research on algorithm and using links on social media in general and LinkedIn specific, show that you get somewhere between 30% and 50% less reach. Okay. LinkedIn has a different theory about why posts with external links result in less reach. And I believe them. They have 2 reasons. First of all, they say that people on LinkedIn, when scrolling the feed, have low intention to go to your website. So I'm checking my feed, I'm checking what my network is up to. I see a post with a link, I don't click the link because I don't want to leave LinkedIn. And that's true. I very rarely click on an external link when I'm scrolling on LinkedIn. Second, and this is also true, if you manage people to click on your link, so if you trigger them enough to click on the link and they go to your website and they read your blog there or they read your article there, even if they find the article amazing, full of added value, once they finished reading, 90% will not come back to LinkedIn. So all these satisfied readers will not come back to LinkedIn to give you a like or a comment or a repost, so they are not helping you to get more reach. That's the reasons LinkedIn officially gives why posts that have external links perform less. It's very simple. When people ask me, how do I use external links? If your goal is conversion, for example, sign up for a webinar or download your ebook or whatsoever, if your main goal is conversion, just publish the link in the original post, because the real KPI now is not reach, is conversion. Hiding the link in the comment is a 2024 tactic. Don't do that. Please check it for yourself. If you hide the link in the first comment and your post will get more engagement, LinkedIn is actively going to hide the comment that contains the link. And people need to do 3, 4, maybe 5 additional clicks to find the link. If that's a link to sign up for your webinar, I can tell you that you literally kill 90% of your potential signups, because people don't do the extra effort to find the link. And then also multiple links perform better. So if you want to have a link to your article on your website, then include 2 or 3 more links and say, like, I've also written some other articles, and have multiple links. Why is that? Because the algorithm thinks you have more external sources, so it's a more in-depth piece of content, hence, hence more reach. But also, a post with multiple links, people are going to save that post more, because they don't have the time now to click multiple links, but they might want to do that in the future. So if you get more saves, you also get more reach. I already said that hashtags do not add reach anymore. Until 2024, using 3 to 5 hashtags would actually help you to get a bit more reach. There is no correlation anymore between the use of hashtags and reach. Hashtag pages are gone. However, 360 Brew is built on topics and keywords. So that means, again, that your profile, your content, and even in your comments, it's very advisable to make sure that you have a list of, let's say, 10 to 15 keywords that are the most important for your expertise, and use them repeatedly in your content, on your profile, and even in your comments. It's built on keywords. Dwell time is one of the most important elements since 2021 in the LinkedIn algorithm. Dwell time literally means how long do people stay on your post before they continue scrolling. The longer people stayed on your post in the past, the more additional reach you would give, because LinkedIn would say, hey, if you make people stop for 3 minutes on your post to watch your video, to go through your slides, then you must add value. So let's give you more visibility. Now, dwell time is connected with consumption rate and completion rate. And those 2 terms, we will explain them very well in our upcoming report, but I'm going to tell you. Consumption rate means what is the average percentage of your entire post that people consume. To give you an example, you create a carousel post with 10 slides, but the average reader stops after slide 5. That means that your consumption rate is 50%. People consume on average half of your post. Same for a video. I publish a 4-minute video. People stop watching the video after 1 minute on average. It means that my average consumption rate is 25%. Your consumption rates should be above 75%. And no, that's not a metric that you can see for yourself. It's data that LinkedIn has. It needs to be around 75% or higher. This is also the reason why mini content, infographics, just one visual, short videos, short text posts, and carousels with less than 10 slides perform better, because the chance that people consume a big part of your content is much higher than, for example, if you publish a 10-minute video or a carousel with 40 slides. Completion rate means how many of your readers complete your content entirely. How many of your video viewers watch the entire 3 minutes of your video? How many people go to the last slide of your carousel before they continue scrolling? That percentage needs to be above 15%, 15%. So the challenge now is not only to create content that gets and holds the attention, but also that gets consumed as much as possible. There are a few don'ts in the LinkedIn algorithm. Don't use too many emojis. And I don't mean bullets or listicles, but I mean the smiley faces or the unicorns, because that flags the algorithm. Don't use multiple blank lines, white lines, to increase dwell time. You've probably all seen people writing one sentence, then have two hard enters, again, one sentence, and you have a lot of scrolling to do to read actually a very short post. If you use multiple white lines without a clear reason or formatting, LinkedIn will flag you for potential manipulation of dwell time. A very important one, gamification. Comment X to get Y. And we've all seen these posts. They are used by a lot of like growth hackers. They have an ebook and you need to comment ebook and they will send it to you. It's manipulation of engagement. Okay. LinkedIn now has a mechanism to stop these posts from being spread. They still work, they still get a lot of comments, but the spread, the reach, the increase in reach is much less than it was, for example, 6 months ago, 12 months ago. And why? Because if you ask people to comment ebook, all your comments, or the majority of your comments, will be ebook, ebook, ebook. That's repetitive comments. It's manipulation of engagement. So LinkedIn is going to punish those tactics. And we've only just seen the beginning of that punishment. So stay away from those tactics. Also, don't edit more than 5% of your post. It's a myth that you cannot fix a typo. You can do that. It doesn't hurt your post. But don't edit more than 5% of your post, because if you do that, you can change the entire meaning of the post, while all the comments that you received before editing your post might have had an opinion based on your original post. So, because LinkedIn doesn't know if you edit too much, if it's still the same opinion, and if the comments are still, connected to the original content, they will like instantly stop the spread of your content. What we want now from our network are two simple things. We want people to save our content and we want people to repost our content. Why? Save means that people find it so interesting that they want to make sure that they can access the content in a later moment again. That's also the reason why LinkedIn now shows us actively in the analytics how many people saved our content. The second thing, repost. And with repost, I mean instant repost. People just saying to LinkedIn, show this post to my network. The more instant repost, the more it resonates with your audience, the more LinkedIn can send it to the same people outside your network. And one of the posts that at the moment still get the highest number of saves and reposts are infographics. Stanley helped me to create a post on 5 silent post killers. So 5 things that will kill your posts in the process of being like spread by the LinkedIn algorithm. And I created a post, and then without any prompting, I said to Stanley, like, can you create an infographic based on this post? That was the only prompt I did. So no specific strange prompting. I just said like, okay, this is the post. Based on this post, can you create an infographic? And this is what Stanley came up with. This literally was like 20 seconds. And if you see the numbers at the bottom of this post, it's 1,700 likes. It's over 600 comments. It's over 130 reposts. While I just had the idea, I had the draft. Stanley created the structuring, and Dylan, I must say, this is from a life-saving feature of Stanley. Create an image that goes with the post. I have a designing team. They do an amazing job with my carousel, but sometimes I just want a quick visual. And especially with infographics, this works like a charm. And you saw the performance of the post. It works like a charm. And then tip 10. I've given you some insights. I don't think we've ever been in such a turbulent period when it comes to LinkedIn algorithm and the changes they are making at the moment. I think 2026 will be a very challenging year when it comes to creating content on LinkedIn because they are changing like the rules of the game. And we have our businesses. We are not all LinkedIn trainers. We want to have our visibility. We want to be seen as an authority. So we need to understand what are the do's and don'ts. And as I told you before, this April we will have another report coming out, the Algorithm Insight report, full of new 360 Brew elements. But also a lot of updated information on what formats, how formats are performing, company pages, LinkedIn ads, how to use employee advocacy, how to get more reach as a company as well on LinkedIn. So, if you want to have a copy, if you did not get it, go to my profile, check it out, and you will be the first who will get it on the 29th of April. Last slide. It's all about analytics and it's all about a content coach. And I think many of us will have content creation tools, maybe AI tools to help us, which I think is a very good thing if you know how to use it, if you make sure you keep your own human voice. But one of the things that I really like is the flow within Stanley, where it says, Richard, here is your analyze. I've analyzed your last 5 posts and I see a clear pattern. This is the new followers. This is the average engagement rate. This is the comments. Then you get per post an analysis. How was the hook? How was your CTA? How was the structure? And then based on that data and based on your topics, again, Stanley learns like, okay, what is the expertise? What is your topic? What is your message? And even more important, what's your ideal client profile? They come up with, this is the next week's strategy. You could post next week about these topics. And if you click on draft this post for me, you will have a first draft covered from Stanley based on your history, based on your topics, based on your analysis. If it's not Stanley, get somebody else or another tool, but you need to have a content coach that guides you in the process and makes you do more of the good things and makes you avoid the pitfalls you have done in the past. Okay. It was a bit longer, Dylan. It was 40 minutes, but thank you for joining us. Again, you can invite me to connect, and I'm sure we're having some questions. Dylan.
That was amazing. Thank you, Richard. I honestly learned
Thanks.
so much myself listening to that. I'm going to have to go through the deck and the recording after this call. We have so
Cool.
many questions. I was going to say to everybody, given how much we've covered in the last 45 minutes, if there's anything you've shared that is most important to you that I want an answer to, and you want to throw it in the chat, we can use the next 13 minutes to dive through these questions. The very first one, I guess I'll just answer because I see a minute ago a question for the Stanley team. Can you create posts for yourself and your clients? We're a relatively new product in the last 6 months, and currently it's purpose built for individual use, but we're just rolling out like multiple seats and like sort of like enterprise plans so you can have multiple seats and logins for various clients of yours at the same time. So feel free to reach out to me directly if that's something you're interested in exploring, and I can connect you with the team and let you know where we're at with that process and how we can get you set up. And actually, for what it's worth, we'll send everyone everything after the call. But if anyone does want to jump on it and check it out, here is Richard's link. But now let's dive into some of these questions. So let's see here. I'd love to see, first of all, how much value it sounds like everyone got out of that. Richard, myself.
Yeah. Mission completed. I saw the one from Christopher Conon. Yeah. So the video question: as a former actor, I specialize in edutainment, and my niche is very specific now. Should I bother anymore? Continue to try to stand out? Okay. So what happens is that LinkedIn in 2024 boosted video content, like it was absurd. I saw average videos getting 300,000 views because LinkedIn just opened the entire algorithm for video content. So what happened last year, a lot of people thought, let's create video because I've heard it performed very well. So I've seen videos that were, and I don't mean to be mean, but that were so bad and so uncomfortable watching that it doesn't help you to build a brand. It actually devaluates your brand, because if you don't feel comfortable in video, Don't do video content because you think the algorithm favorites it. Okay. In your case, Christopher, as a former actor, I guess you feel very comfortable on camera. And then video is a very good type of content to get engagement and spark conversations. Better even than written content. It doesn't do the same anymore on reach. Actually, it will probably get you less reach than a text post or a carousel or whatever. But in terms of engagement with your audience, in terms of conversion, like discussions, it works very well. So my message is always, if you feel comfortable in video, if you like to do video, go ahead. Keep them short. Keep them below 90 seconds, preferably below 1 minute. Eva Sellen, if I shall not hide the link in the comments, I do need to place a link. Is it okay to place the link in the comments if it's not the first comment? No, it isn't. Never put links in the comment because LinkedIn is hiding comments that contain links. So it doesn't matter if it's the first comment or the third or the sixth. And mind you, what in your feed is going to be your first comment will never be the same comment in my feed. So also the sequence of comments, LinkedIn, has a mix in that. If you need to place a link, just put it in the original post and settle for less reach, but make sure you get more conversion because it's it's simple to click on the link for people. They have the link instantly in the post. They don't need to look for it, but never ever do a link in the comments anymore. Don't do it. Achteng. Question for Richard. The majority of my audience is English speaking, whereas my ideal clients are Dutch speaking. So a good idea is to post in Dutch nowadays. Yeah, that's always a bit of a difficult question. In which language should I publish? The translation button on LinkedIn or the auto translation has been really improved over the last year. So even if you create a post in Dutch, English speaker will absolutely 100% get the message if they click on the translation. I would always say if 90% of your customers and your revenue comes from Dutch speaking people, then I would go for Dutch in my post and not for English, because I think that the majority of us are publishing content because we want to grow our business. We want to find clients, we want to grow revenue. And if that's for 90% in a specific language region or specific region, I would go for that region. If not, if your goal is to be seen as an authority worldwide or abroad, then I would go for English. Judy Fox, nice to see you, Judy. Video flops for me. Many creators doesn't like them. Lilach, I have the same. I recently published 2 videos. They didn't do anything. They brought me some conversations. In terms of reach, they didn't do anything. Martha says, I notice you have a rotator at the top of your LinkedIn profile. Does that play into what LinkedIn likes? No, it doesn't have anything to do with the LinkedIn algorithm, but as I think it's a premium feature. I don't know for sure. I have premium, so sometimes it's difficult for me to tell if non-premium members have this. But I can upload 5 different banners and LinkedIn makes like a rotation of the banners, which for me works like a charm because I have 4 or 5 completely different things with sometimes even a different audience. So in the rotation, people get like an instant, idea of what I can do for them. So check if it's a premium feature. If it is, you have 5 banners. You don't need to use them all 5. You can use 2 or 3.
Richard, Candace brought up a great point because we do have
Yep.
the actual Q&A chat also. So it's like it's separate.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So I can run through those and read them to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Might just do that. All right. The first I'm seeing is just best way to do ads for a small business on LinkedIn.
Sorry, tell me that again, Dylan.
The first question is asking what is the best way to do ads for a small business?
Yeah, that's almost impossible to answer. I'm not really a big fan of LinkedIn paid, simply because people seem to ignore it. If I was going to do it for small business, I would probably go for thought leadership ads. So that means I would publish the content organic from my own profile or the profile of the people in the small business, and then I would use a thought leadership ad to bring them to a bigger audience. The click through on thought leadership ads is still the best of all type of ads on LinkedIn. So check it if you Google them or even in LinkedIn thought leadership ads, you get a complete way how to use them.
Cool. This is a good one I saw actually come up in the chat a couple of times, but it's basically are all of these findings and the changes in the algorithms, do they hold true for both business accounts and personal accounts?
Yes, the majority of like if you look at like the structures, what type of formats are working, reach, all the penalties, for example, they are the same for company pages as for individual pages. We do have a separate chapter in our algorithm report that is for company pages because some of the dynamics work differently. For example, on a company page 2 years ago, if you would ask all your employees to like or comment, it would really help to get massive reach. Now, LinkedIn makes it different between what they call internal engagement and external engagement. Internal engagement is engagement that comes from your employees. It is less powerful. It still helps, but it's less powerful than if you get multiple comments from outside the company. So those things are specific for company pages.
Hmm. Awesome. This is a great one because we talked about basically 360 Brew analyzing and figuring out if some content that was put in came from AI, and if it's way too strong, it'll basically shadow ban it.
Yep. Yep.
Candace asked if there's any risk in the same outcome essentially if you used AI to generate an image. So, for example, is 360 Brew reducing reach if the meta info says they're also AI created?
I don't, um, there is a CR symbol that LinkedIn adds to the image as soon as you have a 100% AI image that you put to LinkedIn. You get a CR notification. Um, I don't think there is a penalty in place at the moment if you use AI, because, like I said in my presentation, the infographic was completely built by Stan, the AI. I didn't do anything; it was completely built, and it performed like hugely. It was my best post of the last, I think, 5 months. So I don't think there is a penalty for AI images at the moment.
Okay, beautiful. This one's very specific and tactical. I don't know if you'll have a direct
Go ahead.
number, but Lynn asked, what's the recommended limit to the number of emojis you'd use in a post?
Oh yeah, that's very easy. I wouldn't do more than five.
Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
I
You have a
wouldn't do more than
specific
five.
number. Love it. Uh, Justina asked, can using, I know you mentioned hashtags have sort of like lost their impact, but her question is more specifically around can using them actually be harmful in any case? So she goes, I mean, using them to search for posts from a specific content cluster with that hashtag on your profile as part of an event or as part of a content series.
You know, the funny thing is that one of the conclusions last year, April, in our report was that posts that had no hashtags performed 8% better than posts that had hashtags. It's too easy to say that it's directly because of the hashtags. I'm 100% sure that they don't help you to get more reach, but especially for example, in events, they are still useful. You know, if you want to have like a thread with all the topics or all the comments about an event, you can still use them. You can also use them to highlight some of the keywords. 360 Brew still reads hashtags. The only thing is, it for 360 Brew, it doesn't matter if you have a word with a hashtag or without a hashtag. I'm not using any hashtags anymore, so I don't use any hashtags anymore, and I don't have an idea that I'm missing something.
Love it. I agree with this last comment. We need another Q&A with you because we're running out of time here. We might have to just
Cool,
do a whole other hour session of just an open Q&A. So
that's
maybe we have
cool.
1 minute, so we'll do one last question. I think Bob's here is very relatable. So he says he has two different audiences, one that focuses on him as a career coach and one on the industry niche that he's worked in for 25 years. So he's trying to figure out how to reach these two audiences and sort of how to manage that given the way the algorithm has been redesigned.
Yeah, so basically, what he needs to do is have um, teach 360 Brew that he might have two interest clusters that are not necessarily like combined. They might be completely different target audience, completely different topics. So that means that in your about section, in your work description, you need to like have a very good explanation description towards your target audience, what it is that you do, what the added values and how they can benefit. And that also means that it's even more important in his post that he uses keywords that the algorithm directly understands. Ah, this is a post that I need to steer to group A, and this is a post that I need to steer to group B. It is possible to have more interest clusters, but you need to manage those very clearly. So he needs to use very clearly keywords at the beginning of the post that he also has on his profile to make sure that LinkedIn knows, okay, this is a target audience I need to steer that to.
Awesome. That's valuable for me too. I love hearing that. Cool. Well, we're at time. I know we have a lot of questions unanswered, but really appreciate everybody interacting and throwing that in here. Richard, that was amazing. I learned a
Thank you.
lot sitting here. And we will send everyone an email later today with the recording, a recap, his Stanley sign up link, and the slide deck. So good luck, everybody. Let's
Amazing. Thank you.
all right, appreciate it. See you, everyone.
Bye bye.